Hi again. As part of the Destination Groton video series, I'm Jeff Gordon, the Vice Chair of Destination Groton Committee. And today we're here with Paul Funch. And Paul, your position?
I'm the Chair of the Groton Trails Committee. I've been on the committee since it was started in 1998. So
Yeah.
This is our how many years is that? 24 years?
24 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The trail system, if I understand it, there's over 100 miles of trails in the town of Groton.
Yep,
Is that
130 in that range, yeah.
130.
Yeah, we like to think that we have more trails than roads, so
Yeah.
we're right around 130.
Clearly, the trail system and the network, along with the rivers, and is two of the main assets that Groton has to offer. Now, I understand you have a recent grant to expand the system?
Yeah, there's a brief expansion. We're on the Tinker Trail right now on the Nashua River, and be connecting right nearby to the Nashua River Walk, which will be another quarter mile of trail here, accessible to everyone, and with an observation area that we hope to put up some signs with pictures and story about the importance of this river environment and the efforts that Marion Stoddard and others have contributed to cleaning it up and keeping it clean for the next, future, next 100 years, 200 years, going into the future, as well as some of the history. This is actually somewhat a historic area. John Tinker, one of the first selectmen of the town, had his trading post nearby, and that's why it's called the Tinker Trail. Groton needs more accessible trails, and I think part of our conversation will be, I think that's something we need to add to the mix as more people come into town.
As part of Destination Groton, we're going to be going after and applying for grants and funding, state and federal and so forth, to help with things like this, to help mark the trails and to bring identity to areas of the trail with plaques that this happened here. And can you give me an example of something like that?
Well, actually, just in the past year, we put up signs at all the brook crossings on the trails of Groton, and there are 7 that like that. But just to let people get a sense of place, that now that Groton has been developed and paved, and you don't see the streams and brooks so much anymore. But when they cross the trails, you see them because you got to step over them, or there's a bridge over it.
Yeah.
And so we want people to know that, the brooks used to be very important for people, telling people in town where they lived. I live near this brook or that brook, or this hill or that hill. And, so I think it's important to remember, how it was, and being out in the woods gives you a sense of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we have a Boy Scout project this fall going on, he's developing some historical signs for like Gibbet Hill and the General Field and Shepley Hills, to tell people what that area was used for and what significance it had at the time. So yeah, I think those are very important to let people know why these trails exist. That they weren't all built in the last 24 years.
Yeah.
They were here for many decades, hundreds of years before, used by horses, cars, for all kinds of purposes. So
It's amazing.
in fact, there's also just down this road here that it was used. It was a main way to get to Keene, New Hampshire, and there was a ford over through the river here. The river was lower because it didn't have the dam, and the main road, you can see it going down into the water, and then it crossed over at that point. I'd like people to know about that, and as well as, like I say, the importance of these really rich, biodiverse open areas that we have in Groton. That we're really fortunate to have them. It's really highly unusual, rare in the state and even in the Northeast to have so much in this one town. And it's easy to forget how special it is, and I think we need to remind people of that.
Yeah.
And that's why getting people out on the trails and into the woods helps with developing that awareness of how fortunate we are, and that we still need to work to keep it that way.
Right. So Destination Groton, and I'm sure you're well aware of what the initiative is. For those who don't know, Destination Groton was formed by the Select Board to do many things, basically, but one was to help get ahead of the additional people, traffic, busyness, if you will, of what Groton Hill Music Center might bring to Groton, and also get ahead of the possible negative effects that Groton Hill may bring, or the people that come for Groton Hill may bring.
Right.
So that's why it was formed. And we looked at this and says, wow, man, we have a real opportunity here to accentuate and highlight the assets that Groton has, and one of which was the trail system. So how do you, in the position that you hold, how do you think you can help to make the trail system better, make it more expansive in terms of its protection, its maintenance, and so forth?
I think first of all, I'd say that, you know, the number of people that we might expect to come into town, the population of the town is going to increase. We have a 40B development that's going to be bringing in a lot of people as well. And I would say that it is not a problem for the trails. We're fortunate again in that we're far enough away from metropolitan Boston that we don't have crowded trails, and we can really enjoy a peaceful experience out. It's not like going to the Fells in Melrose, or you know, that it's much more solitude and a really pleasant experience. And I don't think that will change. There's only two places in Groton where it gets kind of crowded. One's Gibbet Hill and the other is the Groton Place. Other than that, you can almost always be alone in the woods. But what we need for ourselves, as well as new people coming in, I think, is to get them to the trails more safely and more conveniently. And in a lot of cases, it's fairly simple to do, but it takes some resources. It's building sidewalks from existing sidewalks to the trail. And we've actually been doing quite a bit of that. I was on the sidewalk committee about 15 years ago. And one of the things that we said at that time was we need a sidewalk going down Long Hill Road. Mm-hmm. and Tom Delaney was on the committee as well, and it took about 10 years, but you know, finally got into plans to put a sidewalk in there so you can actually connect down to Groton Place and to the Partridgebury trails. And so that's one example. The other one is going to be coming up probably next spring, is Route 40 from downtown to the Gibbet Hill Trail. It's very dangerous walking down that first part of Route 40 now, and just, you know, having a sidewalk connection not only makes it easier for people to get there, but it eliminates the need for them to park there. They can park downtown and walk over there instead of, you know, lining the cars along the street, which is causing problems up there. So I think more parking is needed for all the growth that Groton's going to experience. But I'd rather not see parking, you know, all over the place. If we could concentrate it more, and then have people able to access the things that they want to see, I think that makes a nicer look to the town and you know, pleasant. Another example is the Old Air Road. You know, the sidewalk goes down towards the Groton Hill Center, but it doesn't go all the way. And this fall, actually, they're going to continue that. They got Complete Streets grant money to do that, and that will not only connect to that commercial place, but it also connects to the base Blackman land owned by the Groton Conservation Trust. So you can get on trails or go to the concert, you know, without having to take your life in your hands walking down the road. And so I think those are the kinds of accommodations I think we should make. More practical matter, there's two things that I think also need to be thought about. And one is trash. You know, it's inevitable. Most of the time the trails are quite clean and the town's pretty clean, but there are exceptions. It would be good to have, I think, some trash containers that the town regularly picks up and takes away. You don't want a lot of that. It costs money and resources to do that. But I think that we should, you know, strategically decide where the places to do that. Like I noticed the basketball court, the town field has one, but like the rail trail doesn't, and the town forest doesn't, and Gibbet Hill doesn't, and the places on Groton Place. So places that a lot of people are going to, we might consider doing that. Same thing with the other thing that people don't like to talk about, but porta-johns. You know, there are areas that, you know, if you don't give people a porta-john, they're going to go anyway. And, you know, then in the spring you see all the toilet tissue hanging around. It's, you know, it's just not a pleasant thing. So, you know, why can't we put some porta-johns? Like, again, Williams Barn does that, but the rail trail doesn't. And there's, you know, just no place for people to go. Even Town Hall, although that's open during the week, on the weekends it's not. So those are, I think, things that we really do need to plan ahead for.
Yeah. Well, as part of Destination Groton, we're putting together several subcommittees for which you're going to be on them, or on one or many, or and
you're breaking this to me now.
Yeah, I am. And
you got it on camera. Okay.
So all this stuff is great ideas, great things, and it's nothing new either. So hopefully the Destination Groton Committee, which is not just a local thing, it's a regional effort, right, with Pepperell and Air and so forth, because we need to be regional in order to secure state and local funding, right? So it's a regional play with a local benefit as well. You know, that said, we're gonna hopefully get some more grant money and do some of these things that you're talking about.
The third thing that we need to do in terms of infrastructure is signage.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, it's nice to have the connections, but you need to tell people that those connections exist, right?
Yes.
Some certain location, like, you know, having a tower with a bunch of signs on it, maybe is the way to go, rather than have them distributed everywhere else. And then, you know, if we had some standardization, the color code then perhaps, and have businesses one color, trails another color, you know, town services like the library and town hall or something like a different color, you know, that might help. And but yeah, you need to tell people where to. You've given them a sidewalk to get to someplace. You need to tell them that. Yeah, go that way.
And what we need to do is make sure the trails and signage is on the same committee.
Well, or yes, we need to talk.
Well, Paul, it was great to talk with you today, and I really appreciate everything you do for the town and doing this interview with us in Destination Groton. And thank you very much.